The National Electrical Code, or NEC, addresses the safety of electrical installations, and there are definitely sections relevant to uncovered wires from switch boxes and exposed hot pigtails. NEC 110.12 mandates that electrical installations and utilization equipment must be installed and maintained according to the code's requirements. This is a very general but important rule. It means you can't just do whatever you want. You must follow the NEC. NEC 110.14 stipulates that electrical connections must be made in accordance with the code's requirements. This means making sure all electrical connections are tight, secure, and not exposed to environmental hazards. Loose or poorly made connections can cause arcing, overheating, and even fires. Environmental exposure can lead to corrosion and degradation of the connection, increasing the risk of failure. NEC 300.4 addresses protection against physical damage. Wires must be protected from damage, both inside and outside buildings, using appropriate raceways, conduits, or other protective measures. For example, if a wire is run through an area where it could be easily nicked or cut, it should be installed in a conduit. NEC 300.15 calls for conductors to be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner, which means the wiring should be installed in a way that is safe and professional, avoiding haphazard or sloppy work. This includes proper bundling, securing, and routing of wires, making sure that the installation is easy to understand and maintain, but also meets best industry practices. Leaving hot, uncovered wires from switch boxes and exposed hot pigtails on the outside of a building is definitely a violation of the NEC. Firstly, these conditions pose a significant safety hazard to anyone who might come into contact with them. Secondly, they create a risk of electrical shock, fire, or other injuries. The electrician is obligated to correct these violations immediately and may face fines or other penalties for non-compliance. Compliance with the NEC is not just a matter of following rules, it's a fundamental responsibility to ensure the safety of people and property. Electricians should always double-check their work and be sure that all wires are properly terminated, insulated, and protected. Furthermore, regular inspections and maintenance are essential to identify and correct any potential hazards before they cause problems. To elaborate on NEC 110.12, this section is crucial because it sets the overall standard for electrical work. It emphasizes that all electrical installations must adhere to the NEC, promoting safety and reliability. This code covers everything from the type of materials used to the way they are installed. It's not just about avoiding immediate hazards but ensuring long-term safety and functionality. Now, let's break down NEC 110.14 further. This section is important because electrical connections are often the weakest points in an electrical system. If connections are not properly made, they can loosen over time, leading to increased resistance, overheating, and potential fire hazards. The NEC provides specific guidelines on how to make reliable electrical connections, including using the right connectors, tightening screws to the proper torque, and protecting connections from corrosion. Think about a wire nut, for example. It needs to be properly sized for the number and gauge of wires being connected, and it needs to be twisted on tightly enough to ensure a secure connection. Moving on to NEC 300.4, this code is essential because it addresses the physical protection of wires. Wires can be damaged by a variety of factors, including impact, abrasion, and exposure to chemicals or moisture. The NEC specifies different methods for protecting wires in different situations, such as using conduit, cable trays, or direct burial. For instance, underground wiring must be buried at a certain depth to protect it from being damaged by digging or other activities. When discussing NEC 300.15, the requirement for a neat and workmanlike manner ensures that electrical installations are not only safe but also easy to understand and maintain. Sloppy wiring can make it difficult to troubleshoot problems, and it can also increase the risk of accidental damage. The NEC doesn't provide specific definitions of what constitutes a neat and workmanlike manner, but it generally refers to installations that are organized, accessible, and free from unnecessary clutter. This includes things like labeling wires, bundling cables, and properly supporting conduit runs. In the context of the question, the hot, uncovered wires from switch boxes and exposed hot pigtails are a clear violation of multiple NEC codes. These conditions create an immediate safety hazard and must be corrected as soon as possible. The electrician who left the job in this state is responsible for rectifying the situation and may also be subject to disciplinary action from licensing boards or other regulatory agencies. Electricians have a professional and ethical obligation to ensure that their work is safe and compliant with all applicable codes and standards. Ignoring these codes not only puts people at risk, but it can also damage their reputation and livelihood. It's also important to remember that the NEC is not just a set of rules to be followed blindly. It's a comprehensive guide to electrical safety that is based on decades of experience and research. Understanding the principles behind the NEC codes can help electricians make informed decisions and ensure that their work is as safe as possible. To recap, remember firstly, NEC 110.12. I requires adherence to all NEC requirements. Secondly, NEC 110.14. It demands tight and secure electrical connections. Thirdly, NEC 300.4 mandates protection against physical damage to conductors. And fourthly, NEC 300.15. It calls for neat and professional installations. Violations of these codes, such as leaving hot, uncovered wires, must be corrected immediately to prevent potential hazards and penalties. These aren't just suggestions, these are fundamental requirements that any electrical worker should know. Imagine a scenario where a homeowner, unaware of the exposed wiring, attempts to do some minor work in their home. They could easily come into contact with the live wires, resulting in a severe electrical shock or even death. This is not a far-fetched scenario, these things happen, and that's why the NEC exists. It's there to protect people from these kinds of dangers. Consider the long-term implications of not following these codes. Over time, poorly made connections can corrode and degrade, leading to increased resistance and heat buildup. This can not only damage the electrical system but also create a fire hazard. A small investment in proper materials and installation techniques can save a lot of money and trouble down the road. Furthermore, it is important to note that electrical codes and standards are constantly evolving. The NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect new technologies, best practices, and lessons learned from past incidents. Electricians need to stay up to date on these changes to ensure that their work is always compliant with the latest requirements. This can involve attending continuing education courses, reading industry publications, and participating in professional organizations. Think of it like this: the NEC is like a living document that is constantly being refined and improved. It's not enough to just learn the codes once and then forget about them. Electricians need to be lifelong learners, always seeking to improve their knowledge and skills. In addition to the specific NEC codes mentioned, there are other related codes and standards that may apply to this situation. For example, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, 70E provides guidance on electrical safety in the workplace. This standard covers things like lockout/tagout procedures, personal protective equipment, or PPE, and safe work practices. Electricians should be familiar with both the NEC and NFPA 70E to ensure that they are working safely and in compliance with all applicable requirements. Another important consideration is the role of electrical inspections. Local building departments typically require electrical work to be inspected to ensure that it meets code requirements. These inspections are an important check to identify any potential problems before they cause harm. The electricians should work closely with inspectors to ensure that their work is up to par. If an inspector finds any violations, they will typically issue a correction notice, which the electrician must address promptly. The inspection process is not meant to be adversarial. It's a collaborative effort to ensure that electrical installations are safe and compliant. In summary, the NEC provides a comprehensive set of rules and guidelines for electrical installations. These codes are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. Electricians have a professional and ethical obligation to follow these codes and to ensure that their work is always safe and compliant. Violations of the NEC, such as leaving hot, uncovered wires, can have serious consequences, including fines, disciplinary action, and potential liability for damages. By understanding and following the NEC, electricians can help to create a safer and more reliable electrical system for everyone. And always remember that safety should be the top priority, not just because it's the law, but because it's the right thing to do.